The doctor stared into Mrs. Beckwith's seemingly unseeing eyes. He gulped, and realizing he wouldn't be able to speak with her so directly, averted his gaze to the cold, marble-tiled floor of the hospital. Mrs. Beckwith firmly grasped the thin body of her 4-year-old daughter, Sarah, and prepared herself for the worst. "Your daughter is very sick, Miss Beckwith." Terror flashed in Mrs. Beckwith's eyes. Knowing she had to remain calm for the sake of poor Sarah, she took a deep breath and held in the tears she wanted so much to shed. Sarah, unaware of her peril, fiddled with the doctor's stethoscope. "Is she able to be cured?" "Unlikely." Sarah playfully put the stethoscope to her mother's heart. Mrs. Beckwith could stand her solemn masquerade no longer. Her dark eyes shone glassy under the high fluorescent lighting for a few seconds before giving way to a fountain of tears. "What's wrong, Mommy? Did I make you hurt? I'm so sorry." Having apologized, Sarah wrapped her tiny arms around her mother's frame and squeezed tightly, taking time to breathe in the sweet aroma of her mother's perfume. Mrs. Beckwith, encouraged by this kind gesture, gave her worthy daughter a kiss. "There must be something." "Oh, let me assure you, people with her very disease have lived long and successful lives thanks to modern medicine. It's the only true way she will be able to function in our society. Well, function properly." "Of course. Will she begin receiving this treatment soon?" "For the sake of you and others, I suggest immediately. But under no circumstances shall you ever reveal to Sarah her medical needs until she is a legal adult. Just give her the dosage of medicine each morning, and it will become unquestioned routine." Mrs. Beckwith breathed a sigh of relief and nodded. Sarah would be okay. A tall, rather pudgy girl stands in front of you now. She has large, bulging black eyes and a beaked nose. Her hair is chin-length and slightly curled at the ends. This girl is Sarah Beckwith, and she is 16. She nervously fidgets with her school uniform. The melancholy gray and black ensemble perfectly match her mood. It is a month before Valentine's Day, and still she has no date to the dance. She rotates her form 90 degrees and cranes her neck to examine herself sideways in the dust-laden mirror. She sighs, unsatisfied with her figure. Her mother shouts from the kitchen, "Breakfast, dear!" Sarah hurriedly reaches for her medication. Her clumsy manner causes the bottle of pills to fall behind the large oak bureau. Drats! She looks at the clock on the opposite wall. She's definitely running late. Oh well, only one day without her medication couldn't hurt her, could it? It was probably just vitamins anyhow. She promptly scurried to the kitchen and devoured a piece of bland toast before briskly making her way to the bus stop. Upon approaching the kid-crowded street corner, she ran her hand through her limp brown hair in a vain attempt to gain some sort of volume. Today was the day to ask out Devin. Devin was the epitome of the perfect guy, with corn-silk blonde hair, azure eyes, and a perfect set of gleaming teeth. He paraded the high school with such a charming confidence that many of the most popular girls fell for him. Although Sarah wasn't popular, she was now one of the statistics. Maybe she would have a better chance with him, being that Laurel, her auburn-haired and green-eyed best friend, was one of his comrades. The bus strained itself over the steep hill, only 200 feet from the stop. Sarah's heart began to hum with the building of apprehension. "Remember," she whispered to herself, "look confident." Reacting to the vocal advice, she straightened her spine and lifted her chin. The bus stopped in front of the group of children, and the doors cracked open, inviting Sarah to take her chance. Although her knees were at the point of collapse, she urged her unwilling body to take the steps that led her to Devin. She pulled herself up and readied her eyes on the third seat, where Devin would be sitting ceremoniously in his gray and black lettered jacket. Her eyes adjusted to the dim, and there he was in all his beauty, and in the position she feared the most, his arm around the compact shoulders of Laurel. Sarah's heart fell, and her stomach seemed to catch it. A wave of nausea swept over her as her knees buckled. The irritated voice of the bus driver brought her back to reality. "Find a seat, miss." Sarah struggled to the back of the bus, where she found a seat behind two very large football players. Devin may have been out of sight, but he was not out of mind. When Sarah finally arrived at the school, Laura bombarded her with the ruby-red class ring, an apparent gift from Devin. "He asked me to the dance yesterday, Sarah. I couldn't believe it. I wish you'd been there to see the look on my face." Sarah proceeded to run to the bathroom and cry. There she stayed until the bell rang for dismissal. In a depressed stupor, she stalked homeward through the mid-January drizzle, not even bothering to take the bus. She seemed to see Laurel's smiling face in every puddle, so she made an effort to smash her feet into each one, sending the muddy drops into an airborne frenzy. She stepped into the drearily fashioned townhouse where she lived and was greeted by a package and a note on the front room coffee table. Her spirits lifted, and she began to savagely rip at the thick brown paper. Inside was a red velvet dress with a cleverly cut lace collar. A moan escaped her vocals as she read the note. Tears from her face fell onto the paper, blurring the black ink. It read, "Went to grocery store. Be back soon. Mother." Sarah heard the pad of footsteps in the hall and the opening of a door. Someone was in the house. She closed her eyes as her heart began pounding steadily, faster and faster, pumping wave after wave of adrenaline pulsing through her veins. When she opened her eyes, she saw a shadowed form against the wooden flooring. She turned her head so abruptly to face the intruder that seemingly every nerve in her neck shot pain signals to her brain. "Tessa!" Sarah jumped to her feet and ran to her twin sister. They embraced each other heartily. "You're soaked to the bone, Sarah." "Oh, Tessa, it's been so long." 12 years. I can't believe Mother sent me away when you got sick. I've missed you so much." The girls hugged again with the same zeal. "Sick? I don't know what you mean. I'm fine." "I suppose you are. You look entirely healthy, if not a bit on the chunky side." Tessa's hands fell to her own slender hips. "Is that a dress you've got there?" "Yes. I asked Mother to get me one for the Valentine's dance at school, but I don't suppose I'll be needing it. The guy I had planned on asking is dating my best friend, Laurel." "That's horrible. Are there no other guys you have an interest in?" "I only have eyes for Devin." Tessa sighed at this remark and pinched Sarah's stomach. "Maybe this is the cause for your worry," giggled Tessa. "I bet you it's those pills Mother has been forcing you to take. I swear, Sarah, you're fine. You totally don't need to take any medications. Plus, they've been linked to periodic weight gain." "Good point. I've never understood why she makes me take them in the first place. I haven't felt abnormal a day of my life." "Exactly why you should stop taking them. It couldn't hurt you to lose a few pounds in the long run anyhow." Sarah remembered the pills falling behind her bureau that very morning. "Oh, I don't think it will be a problem." With these words, Tessa's eyes sparkled. "You'll have Devin on his knees for you in no time." Like Tessa promised, Sarah rapidly lost weight. In the span of a week, she had shed 3 pounds along with her appetite. She ate rarely and in small amounts, usually only a few crackers and a glass of soda. Furthermore, her entire personality had turned from a plain, if not boring girl, into an alluring go-getter. She found herself flaunting her looks and trying out the newest makeup trends. After 2 weeks, she weighed 12 pounds lighter and was tons happier. Tessa took pride in Sarah's appearance. It was almost as if Sarah was some sort of Frankenstein, brought to life from a body that ceased to live at all. Sarah's mother didn't seem to worry about the transformation. She assured herself that this change was normal and invited it, for Sarah had never been higher in spirits. The red dress was taken to the tailor shop downtown to be hemmed in for Sarah's thinner figure. When the dress was returned to Sarah, it was accompanied by several eyeshadow and lipstick combinations that could match it for a stunning effect. Soon enough, Sarah had rekindled her courage and was ready to attempt once more at ensnaring the heart of Devin. Tessa spent many hours of coaching Sarah in the art of captivation and was sure that this time Sarah would have remarkable success. 1 week before Valentine's Day, she set off to school in a daze, her heels clicking on the pavement as her now curly hair bounced with each step. Her skirt was slightly shorter, and she left the top button of her blouse undone, hoping it would gain her the desired response. Many eyes followed her form as she gallantly strode around the campus in search of Devon. She finally found him sitting on a bench under a mighty oak tree, feverishly writing what looked like pre-calculus homework. She initiated her strategy by approaching the water fountain that was next to the bench. How promising the situation looked. As she nonchalantly bent over to sip the water from the fountain, his eyes looked in her direction. Taking advantage, she gazed at him and fluttered her mascara-coated eyelashes seductively. She swallowed the sip of water and sat down on the bench beside him. "Hi, Devon. Beautiful day, isn't it?" "Yeah. You're Sarah Beckwith, aren't you?" "Without a doubt." "Laurel's told me all about you. You two are great friends." "The best. Devon, I was wondering if you'd like to go to the Valentine's Day dance with me." She glared at him intensely. "Sorry. Going with Laurel. If you'll excuse me, I have to finish this homework before first period. Miss Pearson can be a real pain about it." "Oh, all right," Sarah mumbled. She walked away, and tears freely fell, sweeping the mascara down her cheeks in black rivers. She was a failure. Instead of attending class, she decided to skip once again, for she needed to have a talk with her sister. "What? You're kidding me. I can't believe he chose that ugly Laurel over you. I hope you realize that this requires us to take desperate measures. There is no way, I assure you, that he will go with her to the dance," fumed Tessa. "But there's only a week left." "Stop right there," Tessa interjected. "Don't you ever doubt me." Her hands began to shake with rage, and her fingers clenched Sarah's bony shoulders, sinking her nails deep into the blades. Sarah cried out in pain. "What are you doing home, Sarah?" Their mother's interruption caused the brawl to cease. Sarah's eyeballs shook within their sockets, and she blacked out. She awoke 4 hours later with a headache. Water drops from a cold, wet washcloth were dripping into her eyes, and her back was sore. Her mother was in a sitting chair across the room, reading an issue of a magazine while sipping a glass of water. "Mother, I'm thirsty." Sarah's voice cracked. Her mother scurried to the kitchen and brought back some fresh orange juice in a frosted glass. "The doctor came a while ago. Said you were probably under a lot of stress. I told him how you had come home on your own, and he said you had probably done so from suffering fatigue at school. Drink the whole glass and you'll feel so much better." Sarah gladly gulped the sweet liquid, and indeed felt rejuvenated. On her way to the bathroom, she looked in all the rooms for a sign of Tessa. Sarah didn't see her anywhere. While in the bathroom, she pulled up her shirt and turned back to the mirror. The marks from Tessa's fingernails were clear, and it was evident that some had even bled. "Sarah? Honey?" her mother shouted from the den. "I'm going to run some errands and I'll be back around 3. The door shut with a clang and her mother was gone. Sarah exited the bathroom and viewed the hall clock. Wow, already lunch. She walked into the kitchen and saw a new hunk of turkey in the refrigerator and realized just how hungry she was. She got 2 pieces of bread and got the carving knife for the turkey when the back door opened and Tessa bounded into the kitchen. Sarah felt paralyzed, for she didn't know what Tessa would do next. Surprisingly, Tessa grinned and walked up to Sarah. "I warned you not to doubt me," said Tessa as she raised her fist and knocked Sarah unconscious to the cold marble tiles. Sarah awoke an hour later on the sofa to the sound of Tessa humming. "It may have hurt a little, but I helped you in the long run, sister." Sarah's eyes blinked open nervously to those words. "What?" "I took care of that brat, Laurel." "How? Did you break them up?" "Yes." Something was odd about this conversation. Tessa's voice sounded like it was coming from deep inside her throat. Sarah's nose began to itch, and when she tried to raise her hand to scratch it, she realized she was still holding the carving knife, but now the knife was covered in wet blood. Her eyes widened, and she gasped for breath in the manner a fish does when reeled into the hands of a human predator. Tessa chuckled. Sarah finally found the strength to speak. "Where did this blood come from?" shrieked Sarah. "You can go to the dance with Devon now." Sarah jumped to her feet and began to run to the phone to call the police when she stopped dead in her tracks. In front of her was Laurel's lifeless body, sprawled across the floor, her chest cavity carved wide open. Her heart was missing. Sarah fell to the floor beside her dead friend and wept. Sarah ran her hands through Laurel's beautiful auburn hair and stared into her glassy, fear-frozen emerald eyes. Rage swept over her, and she turned toward Tessa. She charged at her with great speed and agility, pushing her to the floor and thrashing the knife in all directions. Soon everything was black for Sarah once more. In the local hospital, a secretary and nurse hobbied themselves with chatter. "Girl in room 304 is a real case, Barbara. You wouldn't believe this record. When she was 3, she did all sorts of terrible things. Look at this. She stole stuff from stores and even murdered her own father, all at the age of 3. Oh my goodness, what is she in for?" Her mom walks in the house around 5 and finds a human heart on the kitchen floor and the girl's best friend dead on the dining room floor. And beside her lies the girl with cuts all over her from a carving knife. She's a very skinny little thing and self-induced those cuts. Lost a lot of blood. Too bad she's a type O negative and we're really short on that. Something about the shock made her heart fibrillate almost. She's on life support right now. The mom went to the police station. In room 304, Sarah is staring at the ceiling, listening to the steady beep of her heartbeat monitor. She's in agony, with deep cuts covering her arms and torso. Tessa, virtually unharmed, is standing beside her bed, a sour smirk growing on her lips. "You could have just appreciated me for once, Sarah." "I still love you, sister, and I will help you. I will help us." Sarah's eyes, the only part of her body she could move without sheer misery, watched Tessa's hands as they slowly fingered the buttons of the machine that her very existence was dependent upon. Her mouth opened to a silent scream as the machine shut down, and Sarah's eyes rolled back into her head. Sleep well. "Faye, I was wondering, what made that girl do those sorts of things?" "Says here, severe psychosis." "I've heard of that before. Isn't that when you have hallucinations and stuff? I thought there was a medication for that." "There is. I have a cousin whose son takes that stuff. Makes him really chubby." "But didn't you say she was thin?" "Well, Barb, we both know she wasn't taking her medication."